Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me. This is number 1 of a 3-part video series where I'm going to be using these butterflies. But first up, just for this one, I'm going to use that top right butterfly only. So I'm just going to snip these apart, and I have chosen 6 colors of the rainbow, and I've chosen a kind of darker piece and die cut it out, and then I've chosen a lighter piece and I just glued the darker piece down onto the lighter piece, and then I fussy cut around them. You will notice that I have cut off all of the antennae because they are far too fussy to fussy cut, but they still look just fine to me anyway. So I have got all the colours of the rainbow, the 6 main colours, and I am using my scoring blade here, so definitely not the cutting blade, and I'm just scoring up and down the middle of each of the butterflies and folding them in half. Now, you certainly don't have to score them, but it really does make the cardstock crease much nicer, because remember, there is 2 thick layers of cardstock there, and so it definitely does look much better if you just make that one score line down the middle and then fold them in half. Now we're going to work with the butterflies first off, but then we will start making the rest of the card now. And I have this We Are Memory Keepers embossing folder here, and I'm just going to quickly run that through my Cuttlebug, and that leaves a really nice embossed panel that is going to kind of be our background panel, so to speak. And then there is going to be a wee bit of die cutting for this card, just kind of cutting a few pieces. I am going to cut out this frame twice, and I need to cut it out twice because it is going to become kind of a hinge or a door, and so I will need the back to cover up all the sticking together parts I use. You guys may have a die that does this much better, which you could use, but I'm just making do with what I have, so yeah, either will work in the end. I'm using just some post-it note tape to hold that middle piece back in the center, and that's only so that I can kind of make them nice and even and get them lined up right. And then I'm putting some double-sided tape on the outside of the hinge and the inside of where the hinge is going to be, and then I'm just using a piece of cardstock to be my hinge. Now, you kind of technically don't see this because obviously it's hidden behind it, and you can't see it when you open the door, so it doesn't really matter what this cardstock is. I even think this might have been some scrapped watercolor cardstock, but it doesn't matter. You just need to make sure that it is shorter, slightly shorter than the hinge itself, so that you can open your door easily. Now, I should have probably scored it before I adhered it down there, so I just had to bend it there, but it ended up fine, so that's good. Now I'm going to add the back of this for 2 reasons. Number 1, I want to cover up that hinge so that you can't end up seeing it. And number 2, I want to make the door kind of nice and stable, because that is going to be the hinge you're going to be opening and shutting, opening and shutting. That's what the recipient will be doing when they receive the card. So I do want it to be nice and strong and not feel like it's going to fall apart. However, if I thought about this later on, I'm actually going to be adhering it down to my card. So you're not going to see the back of the frame, but you will see the back of the door. So there we go. All good. Doesn't matter. We learn these things along the way. So now I have just adhered down the back of the door, and that keeps everything looking really nice. And there's a nice kind of swinging hinge. So that's that part done of the card. And then next I'm going to move on to, just while I'm at it, the stamping for the front. And I'm going to use that stamp that says everything is better with you, but I had forgotten to, probably if I'd had done this again, I would have added a little kind of tag in between the 2 layers of the swinging door and adhered them in between those 2 layers, but I didn't think about that at the time, so instead I'm going to adhere this little bow to the front, and that will kind of be like what you use to open the door, I guess. But anyway, so I was just getting that organized, and then I'm going to cut up my stamp set, which is just fine, it'll be fine, and I'm just going to quickly stamp the everything is better with you, and it's going to kind of go around the bow, which will go to the right of the better word. Now, I did have to stamp it a couple of times because I have a few layers there. Then I have this tiny little stamp set, and I'm just going to use that open one so that it's really obvious that you pull open the little door. And again, I'm just going to use an acrylic block because I didn't have it organized when I had my MISTI open. So once I'm kind of done with that, I'm just going to start putting together the card really. So I'm putting some nice strong double-sided adhesive on the back of my embossed panel. As I said, this is kind of going to be the background, and as usual I just make my 4 wee tabs out the side and take the middle piece off, and that way it is all lined up perfectly. And it's on a 110-pound Nina Solar White card base. And here's where I figure out that actually the back of that is going to be covered up, but that's okay, we all learn. And I am putting some foam tape. This is the foam tape from Alina on Aliexpress, and this is a great foam tape. It's very, very strong. And I'm going to need 2 layers of the foam tape just because of the thickness of the butterflies. So put 1 layer down, take off the release paper, and then add a 2nd layer straight on top of it. And it kind of works out really well because this foam tape is the perfect width for this little door. Now it's time to put together all the butterflies, so you simply just take one side of the butterflies and start adhering them together. Something that I did think about, you want to have the glue kind of more towards the outside wings of the butterfly because you want them to have kind of lots of stretch, so to speak. So make sure that you don't put them right down into the body of the butterflies. You really want to have it on kind of the outer side of the wing, but make sure there's plenty there because this is what's holding the butterflies together. So make sure that you use a nice strong glue. This glue is the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish inside that glue bottle. I have links to everything in the description box below in case you are interested. And as I said, this is card number 1 of 3 using these butterflies. I wasn't able to put it into one video because it is way, way, way too long. So this will be a little 3-part series. Also, if you are interested, please come and join our Facebook group. The link to that is down below in the description box as well. We would love to have you join us. We are a very crafty and creative group full of lots of lovely advice and kind words. But yeah, that is pretty much my card for today. I just need to add the little bow on the front. And again, I'm just going to use a tiny little dot of glue, which will dry nice and strong. But yeah, the front is nice and white, and then you kind of open up the door to get this beautiful colourful surprise. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next part of this series. Thanks, bye!